We are live.
We are live.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Sally.
Good
How are you?
morning. I'm doing great. And how about you guys? It's Monday Motivation, and I'm super excited because my special guest again is Craig, and we are going to talk about 6 habits that great leaders avoid.
That's right.
Which I found very interesting. So stay tuned to that. And I also we finished our book. So tell us what's going to happen right after Monday Motivation here in the Market Center.
Yeah, so y'all remember we're doing a book club and we're doing a book a month. And this past month in January, we did Free to Focus by Michael Hyatt. And we have our book review right after this at 9:30 here in the Market Center in the training room. We're going to do a review of the book, and guess what? We even have some materials that we want to put in your hands.
I love that. So, what one of the takeaways from Free to Focus, I know you had one and I have one too. There were so many great nuggets. And one of mine is working in your desire zone. Like when you look at the things that are on your plate for the day, putting them in compartments and really working in the desire zone, the things that you're really good at, that you love.
And leverage the rest, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So one of mine was, what was one of the things that I told you? Oh, so can I do it? Yes. So they ask the question, ask yourself, can I do it? Whatever the it is.
Yes.
The answer is probably yes, can do it.
Right.
The question we should ask ourselves is, should I do it? And if there's any hesitation whatsoever, the answer should be no.
Oh gosh, you know what? You've said this snippet multiple times, and I've started thinking it too, and it's very powerful just to filter everything through that.
That is.
For sure, because we like helping people.
That's right.
For sure.
And a lot of times we as leaders, you as leaders, you think you can do it better. You think you can do it faster.
Right.
And the truth is, that might be. And when you put leverage in your life, when you train the someone to your expectation, to your standard, you never look back. You never take it back.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, I know as we've chosen as a leadership team, we sat down as we were planning, and we wanted to pick 3 books that were growth books for us that we could have what we wanted to do in the first quarter. Not the whole entire year, but the first quarter. So I think Free to Focus was a great choice to lead the year.
It really was.
I've only started cracking open our next book, and it's February, and that's this one right here, Unreasonable Hospitality. So I opened up the jacket cover, and it started the story that the chefs that were in this really fine restaurant were unreasonable about the standards of the food. And if you've watched plenty of movies, you've seen that play out where the chefs are really have high standards, and they're just unreasonable about what's happening with their food and what's delivered to the customer.
That's right. So Unreasonable Hospitality by Will. His last name is pronounced Gadira. And that is the book for February. One of the things I love about it is these 2 guys owned this restaurant, and they wanted to be the best and got invited to the top 50 world's best restaurants. And they show up in this city and this state, I believe it was actually out of the country, and they were number 50. And they were like, man, how do we become number 1?
Yeah.
And that's where Unreasonable came. And what I'm going to share with you very quickly, just a little snippet here, is service is black and white.
Okay.
Hospitality is color.
I love that. Well, my eye loves that. Okay, you knew that, right?
I did know that's why I said
color.
it. So black and white means you're doing your job with competence and efficiency. Color means you make people feel great about the job you're doing for them.
Okay.
Isn't that cool?
It is cool. I'm excited about actually diving into that and seeing how I think it's appropriate for our leadership team.
Yeah.
It's appropriate for the agents as they are serving their clients on that. We hear a lot about experience and what that looks like. And unreasonable is a word, right?
That's right.
What does that even look like, unreasonable? So join us if you'd like to. We're going to also review this book at the beginning of March. So you have a month to get it and to read it or to listen to it, and just come in together and tell us what what you got out of that book for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. I'm looking forward to today. We have several people that have joined us with Free to Focus. So look forward to seeing you guys soon.
9:30.
Yes. So listen, you shared with me, I can't remember if it was the beginning of the year, like something you were listening to while you were off, you started a podcast and you were like, this is fantastic. And you shared with me the nuggets you had gotten. Now we're still waiting on the next podcast series to drop.
That's right.
So
there's 6 habits,
Okay.
and we know 3 of them. Well, we know all 6.
Right.
So 6 habits great leaders avoid. Grab a pen, write this down, or go back and watch the recording so you can write it down. The 6 habits are the habit of doing too much, the habit of avoiding conflict, the habit of doing what you've always done, the habit of micromanaging, the habit of hiding, and the habit of hesitation. And we're going to unpack the first 3, right? Is that our plan
we
today?
are. And there were some that I'm like, yes, I see where I have, just being transparent, right? We can see where we get in our own way with these things. I like how they flipped it and looked at what you should avoid and not what you should be creating.
Right. And Sally, I want to mention that just because we're talking about leaders, it doesn't mean we're talking about the leaders on our leadership
Right.
hallway. I don't care what role you're in, you're a leader. So you all running your business, you are leading your business. You're working in your business, you're working on your business.
Right.
You're a leader. You're a leader. And so no matter what the role, you are a leader. And the potential of your leadership is the reflection of the quality of your habits.
That's a pretty strong statement.
It is. So what habits are we in? What habits do we create
Right.
for ourselves, right? So in other words, if you want to have a bigger impact, develop better habits. You don't want to just develop the right habits, but you need to eliminate the wrong habits.
So let's talk about the first one, because I believe all of us have this in our world, and it may just be a stop and reflect on what you're doing this week.
Yes.
And so that's the habit of doing too much.
That's right.
So I find that a lot of agents as well as leaders overcommit. And why do you think that is?
Well, it goes back to what I said a second ago.
Yeah.
Part of it does of we think we can do it better. We think we can do it faster. We can just knock it out. Why not just do it?
Well, and you know what's really cool about that is it goes right back to Free to Focus. In the first part of that book, he talks about sometimes people have the mistaken view that productivity is about doing more
Right.
and doing it faster.
Right.
And that's not true.
Right, and we don't grow by doing more, we grow by doing what matters most. So we have to figure
Yeah.
out what matters most, right?
There's a great book for that,
And
and it's The One Thing.
that's right.
So there's a great book for that. So, look at reflecting of people asking, people are always coming in with their agenda, what they need done. And so that's where figuring out when you say yes to everything, you're saying no
To something
to
else.
something else.
Right, and it may be the thing you're saying yes to. You maybe need to do the no that's coming up, right?
Yeah.
And some of the first things that we need to do when we are going through this is we need to evaluate, eliminate, delegate, and automate. So
Okay.
everything we're doing, all of our tasks, all of our opportunities, all of our responsibilities, we need to categorize it into those 4 buckets: evaluate, eliminate, delegate, and automate. And one of those words that I just mentioned is actually your word of the year for 2025.
It is. It's evaluate.
So Sally, how do you best evaluate your day?
Listen, I have to stop and think about everything, and that's also a habit. Evaluating, what I'm doing. Am I following my intentions for the day that are going to lead me to what's most important for me when I've designed my goals? Even to the point of evaluating my thoughts, what I'm going to say, what I said, what I did, all of those things. That's why evaluate was a good word for me.
And so what I'm finding in this podcast is if it's not an item that is absolutely mission critical or very important and strategic, we will either need to eliminate it, we'll need to delegate it, or we'll need to automate it.
Right.
So those are the two things that we can categorize. It's a tier. And he has 4 tiers, and I really focused on the top 2 because those are the things that we need to evaluate. Is it absolutely mission critical, or is it important, very important, and strategic?
Well, and I think as agents can take those 4 things and absolutely use them in their world, right?
That's
and,
right.
And there's a lot of automate that they have things that they can put in place.
That's right.
That they've already been provided by the company as well.
Yeah. So we're not trying to do more. We're trying to do what
Right.
matters most.
So talk to me about habit number 2.
Yes. Habit number 2 is I'm sorry, I was looking at delegate and automate.
Okay.
Can I talk about delegate and automate just real fast?
Absolutely.
Delegate is handing stuff off to other trusted leaders. So this is when we take the time to train someone to our standards, our expectations. We feel safe. We feel great about being able to delegate that task, that responsibility off. If you don't learn to delegate, you aren't helping others grow. So this is an opportunity that we have that we can pour into someone else and help them grow as well. And automate, you can automate decision making. Remember that if something is not mission critical or very important and strategic, you can automate. So command, I think of our KW command. This is a fabulous tool to be able to use as an agent to automate your business with the 36 touch, for example.
And, I think Keller Williams also has a lot of things that are embedded into the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book when it comes to looking to delegate and find people to trust and to grow. You do have to, though, know that you need to help people grow through those things.
That's right.
Right? So there's that leadership part of that. So this is a great podcast to listen to.
Oh, it's fantastic.
For anyone.
Yep, so let's talk about the who. We didn't even mention
Yeah.
that, I don't think. Craig Groeschel is the one that I follow for these types of opportunities. Yep.
I think he has a podcast that he did in January also with Simon Sinek.
He did.
As
yeah.
well. So
have you unpacked that one?
No, I started
haven't.
it. I started it.
I did
So-
too. I've started it and hadn't finished it.
So those are good things.
So habit number 2, you were bringing habit number 2, the habit of avoiding conflict. Unresolved problems rarely fix themselves. Change your mindset around the conflict, and conflict can most times improve relationships.
Well, I like that. I've made a note here to change mindset about conflict. And so one thing that we know and we talk about is that you really are great at this, okay? So if you know Jay, you may have heard us say he does not let grass grow. So, and there's a little bit of difference. I feel like this, I'm just being transparent.
Yeah.
This one I could work on, because if you have a disc style that is people-y, right? And you do, but you also have that D, that task.
Right.
You naturally come back and feel like, I need to people please around that. And that's not a great habit. And great leaders avoid that. They know that they have to see the problem quickly and resolve it quickly and have conversation. The relationship is the conversation.
That's right.
So you can do that with respect and hash it out and walk it out united. I like that. I wrote that. Willing to hash out and walk out united and setting that conversation up. And it isn't about winning or losing, but it's about growing and earning that trust and learning around that.
I think with you talking about I don't let grass grow.
Yeah.
So I'm not afraid of conflict. What I am afraid of is unresolved conflict.
Yeah, I like that.
So I think sometimes when we can hit something head on, and sometimes it is more direct than others, right? I think we have a better opportunity, a better chance of resolving whatever conflict and being able to walk out the door together arm in arm.
Yeah, and there's Fierce Conversations is a great book. If this is something that you're like, yeah, I can see that I probably do that. I just hope it'll go away. That you've got feelings around it. There are some books and things that you can dive into and maybe start flexing and making a habit around that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Exactly What to Say is also a good book.
Yeah.
For sure.
So what's habit number 3?
So habit number 3 is to avoid the habit of doing what you've always done And what's the saying that we always hear around that?
If you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always
gotten,
got.
right.
Henry Ford said that.
Yeah, and and we hear it all the time, right? And I think that might even be a bold law or something somewhere. But I liked what they said in this chapter or this section, that sometimes you get less by doing what you've always done. And I think about the market shift, and I think that applies
It does.
to our world.
I love that they there's an exception, right?
Yes.
Sometimes you'll get less, or sometimes you'll get more, depending on
Yes.
the season, depending on what it is you're working with. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think about investing, right? I mean, when we
Right.
invest financially, sometimes it turns out great. Sometimes there might be not so good, right?
Right.
So,
And then
but
he
we're keeping
mentioned-
to doing what we're doing. It's the same thing we've always
Right.
done.
Exactly.
So,
And they're just making those deposits in, right, on a continuous basis. So I think it's, for us, I think as agents, looking at things that we know are foundational pieces of what we should always be doing, we need to just evaluate what market we're in and what that looks like in terms of, are we just being complacent? What's really going on with the things that are changing in our world when it talks about that? Be open to doing something different too.
that's right. Well, he said being static about what you do is dangerous, while being erratic is also dangerous.
Okay.
And one of the things that I noticed in there it said if someone was replaced today, what would they change?
I know I wrote that one
Right?
down.
So it made me thinking, if I was replaced today, what would someone change? And what that tells me
Right.
is I always have to be growing. I always have to be changing.
Right.
So you in your business, you always have to be growing. You always have to be changing with the times, implementing new tactics, new strategies into your business.
Right.
Right?
I think I liked that. So if you are thinking about it, think of if someone came in and took over your real estate business, what would they change if they looked at everything you were doing? What would be the one thing? I think we innately already have a clue
Right.
of what that might be. And so I think it's a great question to ask. I like this. I wrote this down. You will never, ever change what you are willing to tolerate. That's pretty powerful.
It's so true, too.
Yeah. You will never change what you won't confront, which goes back to handling conflict.
That's right.
So now those were the three of the six. So the next podcast that happens probably this week, right?
It is the first week of February, so it should drop
Yeah,
sometime
it
this
should
week.
drop this
Craig
week.
Groeschel
Yeah.
is his name.
I'll be interested to know what the thoughts are around the habit of micromanaging, the habit of hiding, and the habit of hesitation.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I don't know. With the hesitation, I don't hesitate. So I'm curious to see what he says.
What
about
is it? Like, what is it that we hesitate? Is it overthinking, you think, maybe?
And we all
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, with my word evaluate, I have to be careful. Am I evaluating too much? Am I spending too much time evaluating? And how am I putting enough questions around what I'm doing in place to where I don't spend too much time doing that, but I do it in a healthy way,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The habit of hiding. I wonder what that, a little, I'm
Avoid
excited.
that.
Yeah.
Well, what I think about an agent right here, right? So
Okay.
you come into the business new, and you can hide in the classroom. Avoid the habit of hiding, right? I make my own definition up here. We'll have to wait and see what he says, but we can be professional, get into the training class and be professionals at being trained.
Right. It's like ready, but never
And I
never
know-
aim and fire.
I know that after 26 years of doing business, every transaction is different. It's new. Yeah, the processes are the same, and there's something new that we learn on every one of them.
I think that taking a DISC class is always, I know I talk about the DISC a lot, and I do think that depending on your natural style of how you process things and how you show up and how you feel comfortable shows up in some of this. And some people may have different habits that they need to avoid more than others. Right? Like you have no, you do not avoid handling conflict. You do a great job of that.
Well.
So, yeah.
So I know we've got just a few more minutes. We haven't talked about this, but can I go in a direction?
Let's just go. Yeah.
Okay, so we have team meeting this week.
Okay.
And in team meeting, we're going to be presenting the vision of the company. So I hope you all will be there. I will tell you, we're going to talk about the vision, and the vision is a place called home. It's your business, your family, and your story. And we're going to dive into that. And I wanted to take just a couple of minutes to talk a little bit about the why and the behind the scenes of it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we all know that our words matter, right?
Yes.
Your words matter. And we're in a season, kicking off the new year, and there are some great exciting things happen, and there's a lot of change. There's a lot of change in the industry. There's a lot of change everywhere, right? It's always changing, Sally. But I just want to remind you, your words do matter. Does your mouth usually heal people with words of grace and love and kindness? Or does it wound people with insensitive, harsh, critical, and unhelpful words?
Okay, wow.
Isn't that good?
There are power in words, definitely.
Does your mouth usually deliver and protect people with advocacy and partnership? Or does it join the attack? And the attack, what is the attack? Well, the attack could be anything, right? It depends on the person. You know, everyone has something going on in their life, and we don't always know what the what is.
Right.
Or the who is. We don't know who the who is. And we have to make sure that we are protecting people with advocacy, partnership, and avoiding that attack kind of feel. So here are the questions that I ask you. These are questions for you to jot down. Do you talk too much? Are you loose with your words? Are you quick to speak your opinions? Do you enjoy putting others down with your words? Are you quick with sarcasm? Now you say, Jay, why would you ask those questions? And like sarcasm, I think. Like I can be sarcastic at times to be fun, right? And if I hit a person at a time where that's not needed or necessary, I'm not being funny, right? I mean, I'm being sarcastic.
You're right, and you may think that you're being
That's right.
funny, or you may think that that person receives that type of delivery, and maybe they do 8 out of 10 times, and you hit them on number 9, and they were in a different headspace, and they received it wrong, and you went on your way.
That's right. That's right. I'm not going to unpack these now, but there is a way that you can filter
Okay.
yourself, and you can, number 1, exercise restraint. Number 2, use wisdom. Number 3, speak truth. And there's a way to speak truth into someone, right? Without the gossip part of it. And here's what I have learned over many years is when you surround yourself around gossip, well, we become the top 5 people we surround ourselves with, right?
Right.
So who are we surrounding ourselves with? And gossipers like other gossipers. And,
That's true.
And when you're involved in that kind of situation, I mean, when you're stirring that, it just stinks worse probably, right? So speaking truth. And the last thing is be gracious. Let your words always be with grace. Complain less. What you say reveals what you think in your mind and what you feel in your heart. We need to stop and we need to filter.
And, you know, I like that. That's evaluating, right? And sometimes it's not easy, especially, I think we're in a society, too, where being direct and maybe even sharp and sarcastic is celebrated. Like it's looked at as you're strong, you're this or that. And this is my opinion. I think that it behooves us to really think about what our words are saying or how we may hurt someone and we're not even aware of it. And that's not what we would want.
Sure.
You know, have you ever had a time where you've done that and you have been like, oh my goodness, I need to make an apology because I feel like that probably didn't get delivered the way I meant it to be. And then what I found is when you do that, people love receiving it, but they'll be like, you're fine, right?
That's right.
So
That's right.
just reflecting and filtering.
We know that stress and pressure causes all kinds of different feelings.
Right.
So we have to calm the storm, bring healing, be nice. I remember Jenny Brockman having a campaign around here where we wrote the words, be nice,
Oh, yeah.
over almost every piece of glass. And we have a ton of glass in this building, right?
Right.
So, I don't know. I was just thinking upon this past weekend. With us having the first part of the year, we're in the second month of the year,
that's
February,
crazy.
which is just crazy. There's a lot of change in the industry. There's a lot of change everywhere around us, and I think that we can just be purposeful, and that's my word for the year, purposeful in what we say, how we say it, when we say it, and to process that instead of a knee-jerk kind of thing.
You know who does this really well? And I want to give a shout out.
Yes.
Is Mary Dunn.
Oh, wow, you're so right.
I mean, you think about all the things that come across in front of her, the public coming in, people, if they're coming in and they're upset, agents coming in. She listens to all of the things with no judgment and such grace, and it just feels calm. She's the best person to handle everything coming into the front.
You're right.
And I really appreciate her
You're right.
at a high level.
Absolutely, we do. She's awesome. Director of First Impression for a
That's
reason, right?
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Well, I've enjoyed, I really appreciate you sharing the habits with me in that
Yes.
podcast. And I look forward to unpacking the last three. Maybe we can do that another time when
Yes, I'd love
that
to.
drops. And you guys, we look forward to seeing you. Are we meeting in the training room?
We're meeting in the training room
Yeah.
in 30 minutes at 9:30, and
Yeah.
this is February, the month of love, right? So love on your people, love on your database, touch your database, love on them. This is a perfect time to be able to do that, and then we're also celebrating Black History Month
That's
this
right.
month. So some exciting things happening in the Market Center, and we can't wait for you guys to be here with
Jay,
us.
you do such a great job. Thank you for being my guest today.
Oh, thank you for asking
and
me.
delivering some really good nuggets. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and we'll see you next week.
That's right. Hey guys, take care.